Hey everybody, this is Rustin with Metalholic magazine and the Boise Examiner, and today we are making the Texas Boise connection with Rex Brown of Pantera Down and of course Kill Devil Hill.
Boise, Idaho. I love Boise, man.
It's a beautiful place. I actually lived in Texas for a while too, in Louisville, just north of Dallas. So
yeah, I live up in Colleyville, so yeah, not too far down the road.
Exactly, we all cross paths somewhere. So I want to talk about Kill Devil Hill because I'm absolutely loving the album, and I know that's the big thing that we're here to talk about. We'll talk about a few other things.
I'm glad you dig it. Can I ask you a question first?
Absolutely.
What's your favorite track off the record?
It changes all the time. Right now, I'm totally digging the first track, War Machine. But you know, it just depends on my mood. Gates of Hell is really good. Strange is awesome. You know, it's one of those albums where every time you listen to it, you pick something new up out of something, and that sort of becomes the one that's stuck in your head for a few days.
There hasn't been a record that's been out in a while that you really can pick like one song or the other, you know, and I listen to contemporary rock or whatever you want to call it, or whatever, you know, active rock or stuff like that. And the last record I can think of is like the Foo Fighters, you know, the last one they did, you know, where each song is like, well, I don't want to hear that one. But I go to this one, and it'll kick my ass, and I'll go back to the other one. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm not comparing us to the Foo Fighters. I'm just saying I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the great thing. I mean, you and I are from the same generation. As a matter of fact, I think you're going to be turning 58 here very shortly as well. So, but yeah, I mean, we grew up in an era.
Actually, I'm 58. They've lied.
Yes, I'm sure.
No, I'm joking.
But I mean, when you and I grew up, it was all about the entire album. It was about each song, not just, you know, these download things and one song here and one song there. You know, and it's good to find bands and albums that are starting to come back out again now, where you're getting more of that. You're getting the complete album instead of just, you know, the partial filler crap. So
right, the way I look at it is like this kind of rock has to come back. You know. That's what we, you know, didn't intentionally meant to be written this way, but the bands, there's so few bands that come out that are doing what we're trying, you know, doing, that, you know, I think kids are missing a whole little generation gap there, you know. That makes sense to you? You know, like, somebody asked me previously, well, tell me what's your favorite metal record in the last 5 years? And I said, nothing. You know? I'm just not into it, man. I'm an old '70s rocker, and I like my Zeppelin, but I also, you know, I know my chops as far as when it comes to metal. You know, I played in one of the coolest metal bands of the '90s, so. You know, and then with Down, it was a total different deal, you know.
Right.
With playing with those guys, you know, more of a Southern Pride doom style, you know. So with this is more up my alley for sure. This, you know, videoing these tapes, I just went, man, you know, this is what I've been looking for.
Well, and that's I talked to Vinny a couple of weeks ago to get his side of Kill Devil Hill, and I was going to ask you, as the other elder statesman in the band, in the last essential piece of the puzzle, if you will, if you could give us the view from your perspective and why this project appealed so much to you. You
know, I've known Vinny for 20 years. We played on the, you know, European tour circuit. Bumped into him when I'd be in LA. You know, we've always been good acquaintances, close acquaintances, and would just hang out, and I had another thing that I was doing. You know, Down was doing nothing at zero after we'd been on the road for Jesus Christ 2.5 years.
Right.
And I had this other project I was doing for TV and kind of movie stuff, and I said, you know, why don't you come down? And he wanted me to play on, you know, these songs, and I said, why don't you come down? Let's hang out, and you know. And I get the rapport, and he stayed like for a week. You know, I thought it'd be like a couple of days, but he stayed a week. We just had a blast hanging out together, you know, and which we have always done. You know, every night before the shows, you know, we'd have catering and sit together and talk about bullshit or whatever. He's just a great guy, and on top of that, he's one of the most underrated, greatest drummers around. You know, we call him the Godfather of all drums united. But more to the point of, he gave me songs, and at first I was skeptical until I told him, I said, just don't put any bass parts on them. Let me try to put my own little spice in there and see if you guys dig it, you know? And apparently it worked. So I'm the newest member of the band. But, you know, a lot of these things are just in demo form, and I would go down like every 3 or 4 weeks, and you know, we'd sit and rehearse and hash them out, and just got to be really good friends with the rest of the guys, and here we are, you know, a year, something later.
And you've been in the industry 3 decades now. You've done so much. You're entering your 4th decade. Does Kill Devil Hill make you feel reinvigorated and energized?
Dude, it's so much hunger. You know, it's kind of like, okay, here it is. It comes in a full circle. Vulgar Display of Power, we're fixing to have that out a week before this Kill Devil Hill comes out. Now, there's a live disc that comes with the Vulgar thing, and it's in Italy at Monsters of Rock. That's the first time I ever met Vinny.
Yeah, I was going to say, isn't that where you did the smoke and the joint with him and Dio and all that?
Yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely. You know, smoked a joint and just sat back there and, you know, behind the amps and, you know, listening to Geezer and you know, Geezer, we'd sat right with our backs, Philip and I, with our backs right against the, you know, cabinets and watching Vinny play. And he was a monster then, he's a monster now. But, you know, over the years of just being friends and the whole bit, what really appealed to me was the, you know, the heavy bottom end on it that I knew that I could, you know, Vinny and I could work out. But it was the melody and the harmonies over the top, you know, with that heavy bottom on it, you know, that really appealed to me the most, to say the least.
Well,
and Dewey's come, I mean, geez. You know, we went out and recorded the record, done September, went out and played in October for, I think we played, I don't know how many dates, 20-something. And Dewey came back after that tour and re-sang everything, and his voice was 10 times stronger than what we had on the original tapes. And then we had to have a remix 3 times, and finally found the guy in Jay Rushton, and you know, it's just turned into this this kind of beast that's lurking, you know.
Absolutely, and then yeah, as you said, Dave Rushton, he's the one that did the last Anthrax album, I believe, if memory serves. But now
but this guy's done everything. No, I mean, he's done far more than that. He's just incredible here.
Yeah.
But he knows what, you know, in a specific genre of music of what, you know, he knows what the current times are and what the style is and the whole bit, you know. And we had done our homework so much going into pre-production with this. You know, I think we got the drums done in like 3.5 days. Got the bass done in like 6 days, you know. Made this record really, really fast.
Well, as you said, you've been friends with Vinny for, you know, a couple of decades now, but with all the incredible drummers you played with in your career, what was it like? What's it like every night teaming up with Vinny as the other half of the rhythm section?
Oh, the cool thing about Vinny has been jamming with him is like, he never played the same thing. Well, I can't say that. Never played the same thing twice, but he'll come up with different, you know, parts. And as a bass player, you know, the bass player's role is you have to keep that thunder rolling on the bottom, right? And so, as much as I've studied Vinny over the years of just, you know, these festivals and all that kind of stuff, and playing with him for the last year, that it's starting to become where I know where he's kind of leading, so I can. It makes it not challenging for me, but at the same time, it gives me a little more perceptive of where I want to go. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
With them, and that's the cool part about it. You know, that's the cool part about being in a band. You know, kind of the first Vinny wasn't that. He always played the same thing every time. You know, and we knew where that was coming. and I would try to move it, myself with the bass notes and which was fun. But with this Vinny, it's it's kind of funny I'm saying two Vinnies, but I've been blessed with three great drummers. Two of them have been Renee and Vinny. So with FC, it just it's just so fun to play with him. And as a bass player and a drummer, you've got to keep that stuff really solid. And it's just fun because you never know where he's going to go. Sometimes he'll go on this, and I'm, we're real close to just snatching it up and turning a new hole in the whole rhythm section department.
So you guys are still sort of pushing each other.
Well, and you know what? If you don't, it gets stale.
Right.
I think.
Well, and you and Vinny, obviously, as I said before, the elder statesman, if you will. Dewey's the youngest member of the band. The name probably everybody knows the least. But Vinny said as soon as he heard Dewey sing, he knew he was the guy. What's your take on Dewey?
I felt the same way. I felt that way because of what he was doing up on the top. But he's come tenfold since then. I guess, gut instincts are right, that's the way I would put it with Dewey. I mean, I'd heard what this cat could do, and if you just push him to, if we all push each other to the limits of what we can possibly do, then that's what you get, and every show that we play, we get stronger, and that's, it's like starting over again. It's come full circle. Right. It's invigorating to, starting over again and playing smaller places. I enjoy that, man. We don't even have a record out, and so we're playing these places, and people are expecting to hear some monstrous noise from these two guys that played in these monstrous bands, but Dewey and Mark are just the guys that just didn't get out of town. You know what I'm saying? They're at the same level that we are.
Right.
Mark is an extraordinary, brilliant guitar player.
Yeah, I mean, he's played in a lot of great projects.
He's flashy, but he plays, and just his style and the note selection is just perfect for what we're doing. And then, of course, Dewey, like I said, he gets stronger every day. So
nice. And after all you've accomplished, do you still get itchy or anxious waiting for the album to get to the fans?
Yeah, I'm doing these interviews. I'm like, God, I just wish people could hear it, and they will. I just got to, just patience is a virtue, I guess,
And you guys have been getting out there, like you said, playing, and everybody, I haven't had a chance to see you guys live yet, but everybody I know who has said you guys are just absolutely killing it live.
Cool, thanks.
Are there any particular tracks as a bassist you really enjoy playing the most live from the album?
War Machine, for sure. That's the first one I played on, and they gave it to me. I was thinking, dude, I swear to God, it happened. I think I spent more time tuning on that song, trying to figure out what key Mark was in. But when it just, the cool thing is that I had a next door neighbor that has a full state-of-the-art studio. And so I said, you have a couple hours this afternoon, I like to put something down. And so I started with War Machine. All of a sudden I came up with these, kind of John Paul Jones-esque lines in between the pre-chorus and or the main chorus, and then during the leads I just let rip, and didn't even fix them and send them to the band, and they were like, "Wow, yeah, he's pretty cool."
Nice, and yeah, I mean, you can. I'm really glad that you were the one they chose for the band, because I mean, your history, background was founded in jazz, but you're really sort of the godfather in a lot of the ways of that groove metal thing with the bass and everything, along with Dime, of course. How do you feel that you brought that jazz and stuff into the rock and metal genre, and how does it play out in Kill Devil Hill?
Number one, I'm a child of the 70s, so I listened to all kinds of music. I had a 17-year-old. My sister's 17 years older than I am. So I listened to a lot of, what was going on. My musical background goes all the way from swing, from my mother. That was her big deal. That's, Dad went to World War II. I was the late bloomer at the country club one night after they got loaded and whatever. They had me when they were 40, so I had all the Beatles records, and I knew all the, you got to keep that low end down. And then I went and a lot of people put this jazz emphasis on what I did. I just did that in, like, high school, That was just part of my education.
Right.
Did. I mean, it still pertains a lot to it, but you don't hear a lot of jazz. You don't hear me going up and playing Jocko shit. You know what I'm saying? I try to keep it. I try to keep it the low end. Like the old James Jamerson kind of stuff. Where that low end just kind of rumbles and you have a line. That's my whole deal. I never want to play a bass line over the vocals. Unless I have to. Unless that line is exactly like the vocals. There's a difference. It's knowing when to play and when not to play, and that's just part of the pedigree of being a good bass player. And maybe that's what I really don't sit and think about all the time. Maybe that's what's kept me in the game.
Geezer always had a lot of swing in his bass, so but. And you are the godfather of bass for a new generation of metal bassists. Who was the godfather for you?
Geezer.
Oh, of course. Okay, I figured, but
or John Paul Jones. I mean, I'm a Zepp head through and through. There's, I'm just. That's what I love listening to.
Was there a moment for you growing up where you heard a particular song or an album or saw a concert that just made you say, "This is what I want"?
Probably too many times, and you don't have enough ear. I don't have enough breath. Or you don't have enough pages in your magazine for me to say that. Yes, plenty of yes, and it wasn't a band. Yes.
Multiple moments of epiphany then all collided together. So, a couple more quick questions. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to say a couple more quick questions before we get out of here because I know you've got stuff to do as well. But you mentioned it earlier, the 20th anniversary of Vulgar Display of Power. Quickly give us your 2 cents on that release and the vaulted piss track.
Which one do you want first?
Well, I thought it was all a part of the same thing, but either way you want to go.
Okay, I've been doing this all day long. So
sorry.
Let me get my wits together here. Vulgar was one of those things. We've been on the road for 250 dates and had experienced playing with other bands and tours and the whole bit. We just happened to be at the right, a lot of time in this business that you have to be at the right place at the right time, but you also have to write the songs. And I think that with Vulgar, we really came into our element as far as songwriting. But we wanted to make it heavier than shit at the same time. But if you listen to a track like Fucking Hostile, you can still hear that there's a hook there. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Fucking Hostile. And then you go into a major key at the bottom of it. That was what we were getting into. But it came so organically and so quick. Some of these songs came real easy. I mean, done like that. Snap of your fingers. And then other songs we kind of get stifled on. Say, for instance, Hollow. That was a very acoustic thing. Phil didn't want it. He didn't want to hear it. He didn't. We don't need one of those power ballads. And then that evening we said, well, just go home, man. You go, do what you got to do. And we wrote the heavy ending part at the very ending of that. And he came back the next day and just was floored. How the fuck did you guys do that in that amount of time? But it just flowed like that. Okay, we need to come up with something. So we get out on deck meaning the studio floor, and we just bashed it out. That's how natural I can't explain how the juices flow when you're onto something, but when they do, by God, you take that and run with it. Like like a rusher in football. You want to go for the end zone, and that's what we did on this record. Pretty much, we ran with that ball as far as we could take it, and Piss was just something. We had a little intro to it, and I was sitting around fucking around with just one little part of where the verse is, and I was just trying to find a groove, and the guys go, whoa, hang on, what's that? And we put that on there, and we eventually used that same riff on Use My Third Arm on the following record, on Party On. But it was just, why that track didn't make the record, I have no idea. Pissed, but, we're getting rave reviews all over the place, and it's on the radio, and, 20 years later, who would have thought,
Absolutely. Now, you guys are taking off here after the weekend, go out with Adrenaline Mob, do that dual tour and everything, but it's only a few dates and everything. What's on schedule after the Devil Hill Adrenaline Mob tour?
Hit major markets. We're going to fly into different major markets with different cities for now, until we can, see what happens with the package or stuff like that, and hit say, for instance, hit a Chicago, and then go, trek down 3 hours and play somewhere else that, and then go back and, play another city and just play during the weekends. Like, say, everybody, we leave on a Thursday and come back on a Sunday. I mean, in this, the economy and the whole bit, and try to keep ticket prices really low. We just fly in, do the gigs, have everything covered, backline, that kind of stuff, hotel, and just go kick major ass and just go to these other different cities that we can hit, instead of getting a tour bus and going across the country and not making a damn penny. It just doesn't make any sense anymore. I mean, every bit of money that you make from these gigs is going to, like a driver and gas money for a bus, and it just doesn't make any sense anymore. So that's going to be the plan. I mean, we're still routing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We have the singles in place, and the singles we have. It's not going to be one single like you used to have. Right. It's going to be one single of this style of radio station, this other style, So we have like 4 basic tracks that we're going to put out there, Give one to Eddie Trunk, let him do it on his metal show, and then one to Full Metal Jackie, then one to, active rock radio stations across the country, and this other one to, whatever.
Right.
Let you really can't miss with something like that. And try to make a broader appeal. Because I think this record has a broader appeal than just your general metal record. I don't think it's a metal record. I think it's metal, but I think it also has a lot of 70s groove with it.
It's just a great hard rock album all around.
And there's not a whole lot of guys doing that. And I think we're the perfect band to be out there and doing, and enjoying ourselves and being happy, and still playing as tough as we are,
All right. Well, my guess is you guys will get picked up on one of the big national tours pretty quick anyway. But so before we get out of here, then, last thing, just for fun, tell us something about Rex Brown that might surprise people.
That might surprise people. I'm trying to find a good one, man.
Oh, well, while you're thinking of that, real quickly, are you guys making any videos for any of the songs yet, or?
In fact, we shot one 2 weeks ago for Strange. Yeah. That people probably wouldn't know. I used to be almost a scratch golfer.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you still get out and play as much as you can?
No, I don't. I've been so busy writing this book and doing the band thing, and I just got kind of burned out on it, you know.
Gotcha.
Lived on the golf course for 10 years, and did that whole thing. You know, now my attention is for my children, and you know, the book, and actually the book got finished yesterday, but I'm still not finished with it. I still have another probably 2 months worth of editing to do.
Right.
But it's going to be very, very cool about the inside story of Pantera.
Excellent. Well, and of course, we're all going to be looking forward to reading that as well. Rex, thanks so much for taking the time. I know you're a busy man and you burn out on all these interviews, so I'll let you get out of here. But we'll look forward to seeing you soon.
I'm done for the day. Oh.
Go rest, brother.
Let's put the record to come out, man. May 22nd.
22nd now? Because they keep telling me the 28th. They moved it up to the 22nd?
No, they hadn't moved it. That's always been actually, it was March 27th.
Right.
And then we had, for this other band that were selling T-shirts that had the name Cabela Hill, had 254 posts on their Facebook page. They wanted like 20 grand. And we're like, are you out of your fucking mind? You know, it's crazy. It's hell to find a band name anymore.
Oh, absolutely. So May 22nd then, and
May 22nd, SPV / CMI service here in the States.
Excellent. Again, Rex, thanks so much for taking the time. Go enjoy the rest of your day and have a great tour with Adrenaline Mob. Look forward to seeing you when you get out to our neck of the woods.
All right, Rustin. Thank you.
Take care.
We'll see you.